Hello and welcome to episode number 14 in Photoshop and Lightroom recording. This is your host Ashraf Jandali. In this tutorial it's gonna be a bit special because I will be teaching you how to do the digital blending, and mainly I'll be concentrating on the layers and doing the masking, because once you understand that concept things are gonna be just easy. Now just gonna show you the difference between having an HDR image that people they used to do, and what's gonna be the difference when you do that same images and you blend them in the technique of the digital blending. Now for the people who does not know what does the HDR and the digital blending, all that kind of stuff, it's a very simple thing, because the normal thing is that our eyes are able to see things in a very crazy way. Let's say when you are in front of a bright object, you will be able to see even the shadows in a proper way, as well as the bright let's say for example the sun is in front of you and a person standing in front of the sun. When you look at him, you will be able to see the sun properly, or the sky, or whatever is in front of him as a background, and he will be not silhouette like totally black as the camera sees. You will be able to see the shadows, everything properly. Now how to be able to do that? Because the camera will be able to concentrate only on one thing. Either it will be able to concentrate on the sky, or it will be able to concentrate on the person. So you have to have two images, or three, or four, or nine, or depends on the place that you are in. Now people, they tend to bring those 3 images or 9 images and they throw them inside a software, and the software, like it's a washing machine, and then finally you will have an output. You don't have that much of control, and you have to be the slave of the software, which I hate. I don't like that. I loved the digital blending concept. Why? Because I have the power to be able to choose exactly what I want from the image. So let me show you the difference between the 2 images. Now that image, I tried my level best to do something with that sky. I was not able to do it, and I've done this in Photoshop. I've done the HDR of Photoshop. People, they may do it on other software called the Photomatics, I believe. It's been a while since I used these softwares. Anyway, so let's say even if you were able to do a good job in the sky, but look at the area which is in the foreground. Things looks some, I don't know, for me I feel there is something wrong. It's super contrasty, some halos on. If you go deeply in the pixels of the of the image, you'll find some halos over there. Something is not natural. By the way, I've done the same thing like before, and in the digital blending, this is exactly what you're gonna get. Things looks natural, got a good sky, you got a good water, good foreground, everything almost look natural. Yes, people may say like these things you not be able to get it in one shot. Yes, they know that, but at least they look almost exactly how our eyes saw it in the place, but without the water. Let's be more realistic, because the water that's silky, our eyes won't be able to see that. Anyway, so let's get started, and I'm going to show you exactly the concept how I work with. I have 3 images. Now the first image is this one. I shot it because it was like metering. The metering which I was doing, you grab your camera and you have that middle dot inside your finder or viewfinder to meter for the sky. So once you will take the shot, you will find like everything is dark except the sky. Now that's the first image. The second image was meant for the foreground. I was looking or concentrating on the foreground, so the metering happened in this area. And the last image it was like a long exposure image, because I wanted to have that silky effect on the water. So you have to have a long exposure to be able to get this effect. So either if it's bright, you may require to have an ND filter. It's a filter or a glass that will be put in front of your lens. This works exactly like your sunglasses, so that will give you more time to be able to put in your camera to be able to get this kind of shot. So the first thing I do is that I go to Lightroom. I don't go to Photoshop from the beginning. The first edit that I do is inside Lightroom. So once I go to Lightroom, and once Lightroom opens, it takes a little while, and ta-da, you click on import. So once you are in import, you will have to search for the image. I have it on the desktop, so I will go to my desktop, which is somewhere, come on desktop, yes, somewhere here. Okay, and this is the folder where those two images were available. Definitely not these. I want the raw one. Yeah. So these are the three images. Now I'm not gonna go through whatever is in here because I have another tutorial. I think it was in episode number 13. Yes, the previous one. I was talking how to do the import and the selection of your images. If you haven't seen that, go ahead and see it immediately because it is really worth it. So you can do the keywording, all that kind of stuff, but I'm not going to do it for the sake of this tutorial. I'm just going to simply click on import. Now I have my three images inside Lightroom, and what I will be doing is I will be looking on each and every image depending on what was my interest in it. Now that image, my interest was for the sky, and as I said, this image was the interest for the foreground, and then finally this was the interest for the water. So when I do the edit, I will be looking on a specific thing. I don't care about the surrounding of that specific thing. Even if it goes bright, it goes dark, I don't care. I just look at that specific thing. So I will open the image which I should be looking on the sky. Now I'll press D for the develop module. The image will be inside the develop module now, and normally what I will do, I will decrease the highlight, so decrease it in a reasonable amount just to get the details in the clouds. Now again, I don't care about shadows because I'm not looking on the the foreground. If I do that, it's not going to affect the sky, so I don't care about it. Okay, now what I care about is I need to have my blacks and whites. Whatever should be white must be white, and whatever should be black must be black. So what I will be doing, specifically the white, I will press the Alt or Option and click on the white, and it will become black, or it depends on your image. So I'll just try to see anywhere that a white, almost, yes, like that, almost the white dot appears, and then I will stop. So this means in this area there is a white information, and whatever is in here I'm starting to lose the details. Okay, so that's why I need to stop immediately. I don't need to continue. Now with the blacks, I need to be having some decent amount of blacks just to make sure that my image have enough contrast. Okay, so this was the before and this is the after, just from this couple of sliders that I've used. Now we can just go a little bit with the clarity. I don't want to go too much in the clarity, specifically in here, and I think that's it. I'm not going to do anything else with this image. Okay, yes, sharpening, I'm not going to do any sharpening in that image. Let me check the noise, if there is any noise in here, and it seems to be a decent image. Yeah, that's a Nikon D800. It's an amazing camera. Okay, so the second image, and I will be looking specifically on the foreground. Now the foreground is that what I will be doing, as I said, I don't care about the surrounding, I just care about this area. So normally it's the same concept. I will be going a little bit with the highlights, nothing gonna affect the highlights. I'm gonna increase the shadows just a little bit, just to get enough information in the shadows which are near the rocks, and in here there's a huge amount of white, so I'm not gonna touch that. I'm just gonna touch the black. So I have to make sure that there are some black spots, and as I said, this is the area that I'm looking at. Look at the before and after. I'm just getting more contrast in this area. Definitely I will be going with the clarity. All right, this is the clarity. Try to be decent with your sliders. Don't, increase them too much, so you'll be able to get a realistic, scene. All right, so with this image, definitely I'm gonna increase the sharpness. So let me zoom in to be able to see exactly the amount of sharpening that I'm using. So if I go with, I think 80, 75 should be fine, somewhere in here. Okay. I like always to do masking, because always there are some areas which I don't want, the masking, or sorry, the sharpening to happen. This is enough like that. Okay, so I think it's okay in this area. Anyway, it's not a tutorial for the editing or all that kind of stuff. I'm just showing you my way of, workflow. I may do more edits in the real time, but I'm just gonna show you at this time exactly what I do and how do I think in the terms of the digital blending. Now, in this image, I'm just looking at the water. So there are so many highlights which I would require to reduce. I may also reduce the exposure in this image just a tiny bit. Okay, just a tiny bit, like so. And again, we have to be sure that our whites, I think this one, just go a little bit up and then go down. Now, if you find difficulty in finding the proper place while you are just, using the sliders, I prefer having your, cursor on the number, so you get those 2 arrows and then you click. Now, that will fine tune the selection, so you'll be able to go with smaller, amount of increments. Okay. Now with the blacks, the same thing. We're gonna do same as we have done before. Okay, I think this is more than enough. So with the water, looking at the water, this was the before and this is the after. Clarity, I don't want clarity in the water because it needs to be silky, so I'm not going to touch the clarity. Double click on the name of clarity, will take it all the way to the middle. And I think that's it. Okay. So what do I do after that is that I go back to the library module. So I press the G, and each and every image I want to name it exactly what was the reason it has been chosen, because it can get more complex. Now we have only 3 images. You may have a more complex number of images, so you don't know why did I choose this image, what is it for. So this image is meant for the sky, so I will say let's say dam underscore sky, sky, and the next one is meant for the rocks, so I'll say dam underscore rocks, and the last one was meant to be for the water, so I will say dam underscore. Wow, that's nice. Water. And we are done with Lightroom. I will choose all of them and then right click, edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. Now what will happen, all my images will be converted to TIFF files and it will be taken to Photoshop. Hopefully this is not going to take too much time, so bear with me. So what I asked Lightroom to do, I asked it to take the images and put them inside layers in Photoshop. So what will happen, because if you open them in the normal way, just right click and you say open in Photoshop, they will be open in 3 separate files, 3 separate images. But instead of that, we needed 1 file and 3 layers. So the 3 layers will be appearing in one in one document. So once it finishes, you will find in this area in here the 3 images stacked one after another. So it's almost finishing. I know it's boring just waiting for the software to do all that kind of stuff, but what we can do, it's done now. Okay, so before doing that, I just want to show you something that mostly I want you to have the understanding about the layers, and most important thing is how to understand the mask, because if you don't understand that, whatever I'm gonna say from now on, it's gonna be super difficult for you. So I'm gonna open a new document, and I'll say new, and whatever the size, you just leave it as it is. Okay, and I'm gonna have 3 layers, so I'm just gonna duplicate that by pressing the Command J. Now I have, let's pretend that those are my 3 images. Now the first one, I'm just gonna paint it with any color, let's say red. And where is the paint bucket? So this one is a red layer, or red image, even it works as a layer and image. And the next one, I'm gonna use this color, and yes, and the last one I'm gonna use somewhere like blue. Okay, and ta-da. Okay, I have those 3 layers. As you can see, what you're gonna see in this area is the first layer. Now imagine there is a paper sitting on your table, and this paper, the color of it is the color of it is blue. And you brought another paper which has a green color, and you put it above the blue paper. And then you brought another paper which has a red color, and you put it above the green paper. So what are you going to see? You are going to see the red paper only. So if you click on this eyeball once, you will be able to see the next layer. Why? Because I did tell Photoshop, please hide this layer. So definitely once you hide that layer, you're gonna see the green color. The green color, which is this one. And if I click on this eyeball, I will be able to see this, I don't know what kind of color is that, whatever. It's a like purplish, bluish color. And that's what you're gonna see, because I told Photoshop to hide the red and the green layer, so I will be able to see this final color. So if we are going to use a mask, now in here, in this area, let me zoom inside this area, which is this icon, which looks like the front washing machine. Okay. Now, if I am on a layer and I click on that, nothing happens. Only thing, like one stuff is added to near my layer, which I don't know what is it. And if I go to the next one, I do the same thing happens. Okay. And I don't need to add a mask to the last one because there is nothing under it. So to understand the concept now, if you are on the mask, remember that this is the mask. If you have the selection happening on your image, whatever you're gonna draw or do, you're gonna do it immediately on the image. We don't want to do that. We want to do it on the layer, on the mask. So what will the mask do? Now I'm gonna tell Photoshop wherever I paint black. So white means I want you to show, don't hide, I want you to show everything about or in this layer. Why? Because this is white. If this changes to black, let me convert that to black. Whenever you make it black, it will hide without pressing the eyeball, because once you make the mask black, it will hide whatever the content of this layer, and it will show you the one which is beneath it. Okay, so put it white again. That means it's going to show what this content of the layer. Let's say this is an image which has a red color. That's the one which gonna show. And since it is the first layer, that's what you're gonna see in here. Now, if I bring a brush and I have a black brush, and if I paint somewhere here, what I'm doing is that I'm opening a hole inside that layer. So if the hole happens, so I'm just telling Photoshop, I want you to hide only this area from this image. If you hide it, definitely you're gonna see the layer which is underneath this layer. So since I made that hole, you will be able to see whatever is under it. I did not make the black masking all over the place, so then I will see the green layer. What I have done is that I specifically chosen a certain area where I want to hide. So by painting with black, this area will be hidden. Okay? Now let me make this one a little bit bigger. So this is a big hole happening in the red paper. Let's consider it. So we have a red paper and there is a hole in it. So once the hole is there, you will be able to see the layer which is under it. Now if I do the same with this layer, now in this layer I have a mask definitely, and if I paint with black, I'm painting on this layer now. If I paint with black, what I will be able to see is the last layer. So now I have a red paper with a hole under it in here, which you can see it in here. Now I have a green paper with a hole, and since there is a hole, I will be able to see the last layer. So layer, under it a layer, and under it the last layer. So that's the simple concept of layers and masks. If you understand that, you will definitely start knowing how the digital blending works. And that's what we're gonna start right now. And the most important thing you need to know, doing selection in Photoshop, especially when you are doing the digital blending, is extremely important. There are so many techniques in doing selections. I'm not going to go through it in this tutorial. Maybe I will be doing another tutorial just specifically talking about selection and how complex selections can be done. So right now, the way that I do is that I have now the 3 images, okay? I will consider, let me just turn off this layer and turn off that layer. Okay, now the layer which contains the water is now in the last. I want that the layer which contains the rock to be the last. So I can grab it and take it all the way down. Now I have this one which has the rocks is the last layer. So that's the last one which I'm going to see. The second one which I'm going to see is the one which has the water, and the first one which I will see is the sky. So that paper which contains this image is the first one, is the first layer. So that's the only one which I'm going to see. Okay? Now, the workflow, what we need to do is that I need to have a mask on each and every layer except the last layer, because there is no point of adding a layer to the last one. But this layer is gonna be black. So that's sorry, not layer, it's a mask. If I create a black mask, this will hide that layer. So let's do that. If you come to that, again, that washing machine, that looks like a washing machine. If you press Alt and you click on it, immediately you will be able to get a black mask. If you just click on that washing machine, you will get a white mask. If for some reason this happened and you want to invert the mask, you click on or you press the button Command or Control I. This will hide, this will convert the mask from white to black. Now, as you can see, the first one has been hidden, the second one has been hidden, and now in here I'm able to see my last layer. Why? Because we have black mask in here and black mask in here, so I will definitely be seeing the last layer. Now it's up to me to paint with white wherever I want these images to appear. If I paint with white in certain areas of this image, which should be the sky because that's why we chosen this layer, if I paint with white at the sky area, I will be revealing the sky. So let's do that. Now the first thing you need to do is you need to protect the mountains. How to protect the mountains? You have to make a selection. So if I come to the quick selection tool, and I will just click and move my cursor on the mountain, I should be getting, a decent selection. Okay? So if you want to be able to see how is your selection being done, so you press the Command or Control 1, that will zoom 100%, excuse me. And I will be looking at the selection. How is it? It seems to be okay. Yes, it is okay, no problem in it. And then I'll press the Command or Control 0. Now normally just not to have a harsh edge, because it's exactly as you brought a scissor and you went through all the edges of the mountain. That's gonna be very sharp edges. To make those sharp edges soft, once you do a selection, you can simply come and okay, before that, now as you can see, now if I try to paint somewhere in this area, I won't be able because the selection is happening in here. So wherever you select is the place where you will be able to brush. So I want to invert that selection. I will just go to select and inverse the selection. So now I have my selection on the sky. Okay, now that selection, I want to feather the selection, so I will go to select, modify, and then feather. So feather 1 pixel is more than enough, and I will say okay. This will create a small feather on the edges of this selection, and it will make it much more smooth. Now as you can see, and please be careful to this information. Now you have to have your selection on the mask. You have to select the mask. Don't select the image and start doing the brushing. What will happen? You will spoil the image. You are not doing something good. You have to concentrate and make sure that you do select your mask before painting with white. Okay? Agree about that? Perfect. Now I press the letter B to choose the brush. And in here there's an arrow, which is that one. Oops. If you click on it, this will change the foreground to become the white and the background to become the black. If you click on it again, then the opposite will happen. Also, you can press the letter X. If you press X, you will be able to switch between them. And for any reason you were having a different color, let's say I had a color of, I don't know, this kind of red, and this again another color. If you want to go to the default, you can click on this icon, or you can press the letter D. This will give you the default colors. Okay, so now I have the foreground, which is white, and now I'm ready to paint my sky. On the mask, be careful, on the mask, okay? So I have a decent size of a brush. If you go to the brush, you have to make sure that the hardness is 0. If you go to a hardness which is 100%, look what happens. Once you draw, you will have a very, very sharp edges, which we don't need to. So once you go to your brushes, you make sure that the brush is 0 hardness, and then we will start doing the brushing. Now, the way I like to do it is the opacity or the flow. Now again, I'm not going to go through what is opacity and what is flow right now, but let's start with the opacity, and I will go with opacity amount of 30. Okay, Just to be sure, if I go somewhere wrong, I don't really affect it much. But anyway, since we are protected with the selection, we don't have any concern. So you can just simply come here and brush at the sky. So now what we are doing, since we are painting with white, we are revealing the sky. So anyway, since we are protected with that selection, I'm just gonna go with 100% opacity and get the sky to appear totally. Okay, like so. So that's the concept of digital blending. It is as simple as that. Now I brought the sky, I've removed the old sky and I put the new sky. So since, look at the mask, I will show you something. If you click the press the button Alt or Option, and you click on the mask. If you click on the mask, it will show you how does the mask look like. So since we have painted with white, this is the area which is going to appear from this layer. So what is in this area is the sky, so that's what's going to appear. If I press Alt and click on the mask again, so you will see you'll see back your image. Now, we need to do the same thing for the water. Now this is the layer which contains the water. So I will click on the mask of the water, and then with a decent brush I will paint with white. But now I don't have any selection being done, so I have to be careful. So what I normally do is that I go with the opacity of 30, for example, or somewhere around 30, and I'll start painting at the area which I needed for the water. Okay, so you start painting and you have to be careful on the edges. Don't go too much off of the edges. The areas that you want to come like small like that, you can just decrease the size of your brush and you paint on it. Now the amount which we are painting right now is only opacity of 30%, so you're not gonna see the effect very fast. So maybe you will require to go multiple of times to do the painting on it. Okay, but you always go slowly and you start building it up. Don't take it all the way immediately 100% because it may not look nice. Okay, so this is how you do exactly the digital blending. The power of digital blending is the power of selection. Now that selection which we have done for the sky, it's easy. Why? Because it's straightforward. There's nothing, there's no buildings. In the case where there is buildings, there is trees and so many stuff, it can be difficult. So you have to learn how to do the selection, because selection is the most important thing in digital blending. Okay, so again, if you use the tablet, there is a tablet with a like a digital kind of pen. This will help you a lot. This will help you a lot instead of using a mouse or a trackpad on your laptop. So using the trackpad with that pen will give you much more flexibility and more accuracy in painting. So if you look at the before and after, that's how the water looked like, and this how it looks like after we have done the blending. Okay, now the sky is a little bit obvious that there is something, or a big difference between the scene and the sky. So what you need to do is come to the layer of the sky, reduce the opacity to 100%, and slowly start adding the sky to the amount that you feel it is blending with the scene. Okay, so why? Because you have the water bright, so definitely it has to compensate with the sky. So I feel somewhere around here, somewhere around like maybe here, it looks decent. Okay, so even though it was like that and now it is like this, so this will give you a much better feeling to the image. Now after that, you are free to do your sharpening if you want to do some contrast, or you want to add some kind of color to your image. I don't know, you can do whatever you want, but the concept of digital blending is that's it, nothing more than that. Be powerful in your selection. learn how to do selections, and I will try my level best to make another tutorial just to talk about the selection. And you will be, today you had to understand how does the layers and the mask, if I did explain it properly, hopefully yes. So you will be understanding the digital blending, and please forget HDR. It's enough with the HDR. Digital blending is the king right now. That's what you're gonna get. This is the effect. This is a normal image. It looks like that. Okay, sky is blown out. The water is not so interesting. But with the digital blending, you will be able to have this kind of effect. Be decent. Don't go too much crazy. You need to make sure that your image looks, realistic. And have a nice day, and thank you for watching. Please share this video just to let the word reach to every photographer or every person who's interested in doing digital blending. That will help the people to have nice, images. Please, I don't want the HDR anymore. Thank you again, and have a nice day.